Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to another fabulous week of our English 101 class. Hopefully you've enjoyed this President's Day holiday and got a chance to rest and relax or write your essay or catch up on chores, like whatever you wanted to do with the day. I hope it was a good one for you. This week we are finishing up Project 2 and moving on to our final major project for the quarter. Yay! We're 2/3 of the way done at this point. So kudos, pat on the back, all that good stuff. And then we're gonna just roll right into Project 3. So if we go into our modules, you'll see just like all of our other projects, we have all the things we need to be successful for Project 3 located in the Project 3 module folder, which is exciting. So we scroll on down to that. We are going to be working with our idea of true crime and justice that we started off the beginning of the quarter with. We're continuing to build on that theme as we've talked about with all of our other projects. When assignments are thematically linked like this, there's a lot of psychological educational research that says our brains are able to solidify those connections in what we're learning more fully so that we can recall that information more easily and so that it can transfer to various contexts. If you're asked to write something in English 101, some of those skills could transfer elsewhere. You might remember comma placement in an email you send your boss, or how to create a clear and linear thesis statement in an essay you have to write for history class. So by having these thematically linked assignments, we're strengthening those cognitive pathways that help us retrieve that information so that it'll come back more easily in various situations, which is exciting. That's kind of cool. So for Project 3, we are building on these ideas. And so in Project 1, we talked about revenge and justice in a more fictionalized setting, although Murder on the Orient Express was based on a true crime case. In Project 2, we looked at the criminal process and the Sixth Amendment and how media coverage could potentially be problematic in terms of the Sixth Amendment rights. In Project 3, we're going to be looking at cultural bias and justice. And so we're going to start with our recorded lectures here on cultural bias and justice. This is another two-parter. Don't let that intimidate you. It's a 15-minute part 1 and like a 3-minute part 2. I try and keep these things under 25 minutes. This one is about 20 minutes total. So much less than you would have to listen to if we were in class together and I lectured at you for an hour every day. You only have to listen to 20 minutes of my voice instead of 60, so you're welcome. Great stuff. So watch the recorded lecture. That's going to walk you through the big ideas that we're dealing with, the research base coming from the criminal justice perspective, coming from the sociologist perspective, the anthropologist perspective, and the psychologist perspective. And a little bit of political science thrown in there. So lots of different ideas, research strategies that have come together in this project, which is pretty cool. Hopefully, at least something sparks your interest here. So we'll be talking about cultural bias and culture here. We do, once again, have a case list, so you're going to need to pick your essay topic based on this case list. And then we're going to start researching for this particular case. Just like with all our other things, we've got our prompt, case list, and outlines here. We've got a video on thesis statements. We have different ways to cite popular things. Lots of the cases you'll look at have documentaries that you can find on YouTube. So this is how to cite those. And this project will include an annotated bibliography, which is just like a research journal. You'll pick 3 of the sources you want to use for the essay and tell me a little bit more about them. Not something you have to worry about this week, but I want to give you this big overarching picture of what this project is going to look like. This week, you're going to be looking at our bias, culture, all of that good stuff. And then we are going to be looking at the library time folder to show you how to get started on research. We do have a great discussion board about bias and how it happens, like why us humans do we experience bias? Why do we propagate bias? What is it about how we're wired that creates this kind of phenomenon? We've got a great article about that. And then we've got the implicit bias association test. This is put forward by Harvard University. So it does have some credibility because it's Harvard, right? And in this test, it's one of those like reflex tests. So they'll tell you how to do it, walk you through the process, but you click through until it gets to the question parts, and then you just click different keys when it gives you like a word or a phrase or a picture, and they will walk you through what kind of results you get. So I just want to talk you through a little bit of this here. So if you go here, it says, I wish to proceed, click on this button. Basically, they're saying you're not going to sue Harvard if you don't like the results of the test, which is a sad thing that you have to put out there, but apparently there were problems. So now you just click, I want to proceed, and then you're going to pick one of these categories. Some of these categories are more helpful than other ones. So I'm going to ask you to pick like the more appropriate ones for this particular essay. Not that the other ones aren't great, but they just don't have the clear correlation between the ideas we want to talk about in the essay and the actual results of the test. So you could look at the race bias test, you could look at skin tone, you could look at age. Let's skip the presidents because that doesn't really deal with cultural bias. More political bias there, which is not really what we're looking at. So looking at race, skin tone, age, sexuality, that's a cultural bias. Weight, absolutely cultural bias. Asian American, religion, disability, all of those are great examples of potential cultural bias. Gender and career, this one you could make work if you wanted to, just because like, do you associate men with careers or women with careers more is kind of what they're looking for there. Transgender absolutely works for this. Native American works for this. The weapons one, not so much. So let's skip that one because that's more about, it's not really about cultural bias. So we'll skip that one. Gender and science and Muslim, Arab, all of those work. So you can pick anyone from this list except for the weapons and except for the presidents. So just pick any other one. You've got lots of options. So you'll just click on the one that you're interested in and click through, just continue. You can make up anything. Like you don't have to put your real thing. I'm just making things up. Oh, apparently too young. So I picked the wrong year. Just gonna go back and pick an older year. Pick whatever you want, just so that you can click through the test. And then take a screenshot of your end results. And for the discussion board, you are going to then talk about what you felt about your results. Like, do you think that they were accurate? If they were, did it cause you to consider anything? If they were not accurate, say why you think maybe you got that result, that kind of thing. So just kind of analyze it a little bit in that. On the 24th, it's a CBC professional day, so there's no school that day, so no assignments. So yay for you guys. And then the next week, we're moving into our real examination of how to pull this essay together. So this week, we're laying the framework, and next week, we're going to start pulling things together. This essay is a little bit slower paced than Project 2, so it's not quite the mad dash to the finish line. You've got lots of time as we get to work on it next week, the week after, and the week after that. The final draft on this is due on the 17th, right before finals week. So you've got plenty of time to work on this, but once again, don't put it off because it is a very research-heavy essay, and we know research takes time. So even if you're going to wait to start writing it, maybe start on the research earlier when we talk in terms of like time management and all that good stuff. So lots of fun things coming our way this week as you turn in the final draft of Project 2. We take a look at the library module in Canvas in the modules tab to see what we need to know for the library. Once again, you can get to that through the modules. We talked a little bit about this in Project 2, but just scroll down to the very bottom. There is a library time folder. I don't know why computer is being goofy. There we go, library time. Here's the link to the Prezi with the librarian, Molly Mooney. She is amazing. She'll walk you through the whole process on how to use the databases. And here's a link to live chat with the librarians if you need help too. So lots of great resources there. So you're gonna be doing that on Wednesday, doing a discussion board in reference to an article called Where Bias Begins. And then on Thursday, you're gonna be looking at cultural bias and justice, that 2-part PowerPoint I showed you in the modules tab. And you're gonna work on the implicit bias association test. It takes about 5 minutes. It's pretty quick. And then you'll get to enjoy the weekend thinking about your topics as we jump into more information about them in the coming weeks. So lots of good things headed our way. Hopefully you guys have a fabulous week. As always, reach out if you have any questions. I'm here to help.